In 1866 in Transylvania, Jean Kielerence was born. The girl from birth showed extra sense powers and communication with the spirits of the dead. From unconfirmed sources, her great-great-grandfather was Count Dracula III himself. Jean was a very recognized clairvoyant and medicine girl. She was known in Transylvania as a healer, fairy, but also as a witch. Once she was summoned by the city authorities to help the mayor. The old man lay unconscious and gave no signs of life. Jean, after performing the rituals, woke up the mayor and he returned to his duties. Joy and disappointment at the same time had no end, and as it turned out later, the mayor died 3 days before Jean sent him help. People loved her as well as feared her. Women forbade their husbands to look at her face. A popular legend was that anyone who saw Jean would fall in love with her to the grave. Many men ended their lives by expressing their love for Jean. In 1889, she met a war cavalry messenger of King Augustus IV of Hungary, and from this relationship, a son was born. Joseph Baptist Kielerence. He was a brilliant little boy. However, he was born with quite a significant flaw. His hand looked like weeping, the fingers were flexible, and they seemed to grow apart with the boy's age. Jean went to great lengths to cure the boy. They said that she gave the boy's soul to the devil himself to heal his hand. After the mysterious disappearance of her father in his bed, Jean, guided by the voice of her heart, decides to emigrate to Paris. In Paris, she is valued and recognized as a clairvoyant. A supernatural gift does not help her in raising her son alone, who is in conflict with the law. Jean decides to leave Paris and move to new lands in America. Jean takes his son and sets off on a one-way trip, understanding that he will never return to Europe. On a ship to America, Jean meets Quentin Sterling, a black handsome Amish who is traveling around Europe. Quentin is an adventurer and a traveler, but also an Amish. His attention is immediately drawn to a beautiful Jean hat, and it is his weakness for hats that connects the pair. Problems in Jack's upbringing began when Quentin realized that Jack would never be black. All Quentin's efforts had been in vain. Quentin began to drink and abuse Jack, understanding that Jack would never be black, beat him more and more cruelly, and punished him severely even for trifles. One night Jack disappeared without a trace. The villagers suspected that Quentin had beaten him to death. A year passed, and on Halloween night, the villagers and the Amish told of seeing Jack in a black coat and hat, spit the horses and kidnap his mother Jean. Quentin was distraught over the loss of his beloved and soon died alone, drinking himself to death. His house inexplicably burned down to the ground. The following years, the villagers saw BigJack and his mother Jean on horseback on a Halloween night. They set fire to the village, which burned to the ground that night. Legend has it that BigJack and his mother Jean were captured and hanged by the state army in 1921. Responsible for the executions, Gene and Jack, was a local sheriff, Sally Sullivan. He died the next night with a cigarette in his office, which burned to the ground. Sheriff's charred body found inside. Some reports say the body was decapitated, others that the sheriff's hands were nailed to his wooden chair. However, the regular Columbia countryside fires continued until 1977. Some of the people found connection with the day of Elvis Presley died. From then on, everyone tries to keep quiet about the existence of BigJack and his mother Jean. The remaining song, Kielerence, according to legend, serves as a key to contacting the witch Kielerence and her son from another world. The legacy version of the magic spell that is able to connect our world with the world of spirits in the Kielerence family is prohibited and locked in the Congress Library in Washington, guarded by the FBI and secret paranormal services. All information about the so-called Kielerence portal has been kept secret. Access to it is comparable to access to nuclear weapons. However, due to the fact that paranormal forces are not recognized as existing forces, there is no official information about which countries have access to the spells of the Kielerence family. After the Roswell disaster, the Kielerence family's business returned. The power of the paranormal forces was included in the armaments plan and the development of paranormal weapons, including the paranormal bomb, became the goal of all the leading powers. In 1956, the American president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, gave permission to deconserve the Book of Kielerence from an underground nuclear shelter located 50 Kelvin m underground under the Pentagon building. The appointed commission, which was supposed to come into contact with BigJack and his mother, included experts in the field of atomic weapons, religion, extrasensory, cultural studies. The leader of the group was Eugenio Maria Giuseppe Giovanni Pacel, the then saint of Papa of Rome, Pius XII. The spells were spoken, but the course of events could not be controlled. 5 members of the committee died of a heart attack simultaneously after BigJack and his mother appeared at the meeting. The other members of the committee went insane, partially deaf and blind. The incident was given the highest confidentiality, and no mention of it ever came to light. Over the next decades, governments around the world tried to get in touch with the Kielerence family and persuade them to cooperate. All attempts at contact have had dire consequences. Washington, 1960. Call Jack for company party-led death of 26 employers in bus road accident. Colombia, Bogota, 1970. Call Joan and BigJack for Amish National Day, led city fire and 25 deaths. Brass of 1982. Romania. Calling of the Kielerence family in the days of the city. The burning of the effigy of Joan Kielerence caused an earthquake and a tornado that carried away the mayor of the city and those around him. FBI investigation. Florida, 2000. FBI Chief Director Louis J. Free has ordered the final clarification of rumors and myths about the Kielerence family. The helicopter with the investigation team, the FBI, and the clergy disappeared in the fog near the coast. The Book of Kielerence was lost. Unfortunately, the disappearance of the Kielerence book does not mean that the history of the Kielerence family has been closed. In 2013, Julian Assange and his WikiLeaks group extracted deeply encrypted files that turned out to be scans of the Book of Kielerence and a list of commandos connecting the real and paranormal worlds. Soon after, Julian Assange fled. Leaks about the Book of Kielerence have appeared on the dark net. The number of tragic cases is not exactly known. From unofficial sources, the FBI estimates that up to 66.6% of the world's tragedies, suicides, and accidents may be related to attempts to contact the Kielerence family. Despite intensive attempts to eliminate all information regarding the Kielerence family, it was not possible to remove all information. Attention! If you find any information about the Kielerence families on the internet, files, photos, descriptions of rituals and spells, report this fact immediately to the nearest law enforcement authorities. The Pentagon hotline for questions related to the Kielerence family has been active since 1956. Our number changes regularly due to hacker attacks.